The Echo Chamber, brought to you by the Holmes Report and produced by the international broadcast specialist Marketeers. Sponsored by the Bullet Group, putting you in tomorrow's conversations today.
Hi everybody and welcome to the Echo Chamber. I'm Maya Pawinska-Sims, the Holmes Report's EMEA editor, and I'm joined in a rather damp London today by a triumvirate of SEO gods who are going to talk us through search engine optimisation and its place in the world of public relations. First up, we have Jim Hawker, co-founder of Threepipe, our digital agency of the year, which bought SEO agency Spot Digital a couple of years ago. Hi, Jim. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you very much.
Next up, we have Andy Barr, owner of 10 Yetis Digital, who is always vocal on the subject of good and bad SEO and is definitely worth a follow on Twitter.
Thank you very much.
And thanks for making the trip from Gloucester, Andy. And last but very much not least, David Fraser, founder of Ready 10, another digital agency of the year finalist. Welcome.
Thanks a lot.
So, chaps, I'm going to kick off with the basics. So, when we were chatting about this, David, you said, I just want people to not turn off this podcast.
Yeah, don't turn off this podcast. It is quite useful and interesting to people, so bear with us.
Let's make it interesting.
Yeah. Well, I'm promoting it. I'm PRing it.
Tell me about how you would define SEO in layman's terms and how it complements and fits into PR. Andy?
Well, we've lost 50% of the audience by describing us as SEO gods, so that's the end of that. Very briefly, companies are trying to rank for keyword terms. So, for example, Sports Direct are probably trying to rank for things like black Under Armour t-shirt. And one of the ways that you can rank is to get loads of links from other credible authority sites into their website. From people say like Daily Mail, Huffington Post, BuzzFeed, linking to Sports Direct, and then the sheer power of those websites will mean that their rankings their keyword rankings will go up. And in a very crude short term, if you rank 5 or above for a product or for what you're trying to rank for, you will do a lot of sales. If you rank 5 or below, this is on page 1, you will do not as many sales. So the aim is to get 5 or above on page 1.
Okay, so good SEO can lead to sales, full stop.
It will lead to sales,
okay.
Along with other things. So you've got to have a fast loading website. It's got to be credible content on there, and Google has to generally love what you've done. Okay,
so earned media and good content is critical to having a healthy SEO count.
Yeah, earned media is basically the holy grail for SEO. If you can, I think I'd call it sort of a brute force getting a site to rank. So you can have an absolutely rubbish site, and as long as you've got a truckload of links coming into it that are from authority sites, you can get it to rank. And I know that because we've done it for loads of clients that have had rubbish websites, yet we've got really good links into it.
Okay. Jim, it sounds like it's a no-brainer to partner SEO strategy and PR strategy. Do you think public relations practitioners get SEO?
No, I don't think they do. I think it's no coincidence that the people in this room are the few vocal people that haven't actually been that many.
Gathered you all together.
Yeah, I know.
If a bomb goes off, that's SEO.
That's SEO
He's gone.
He's looking after it whilst we're in here. Yeah.
It's really strange. I mean, Dave and I were talking about it earlier that actually, it actually is a bit of a no-brainer. I think it's something that people are intrigued by. And like we're doing an SEO PR event next week. We've got 80 people coming, but what will come out of that? Who knows? Because I just think people I don't know why, but somehow PR people just got used to doing what they do and haven't necessarily sort of looked around or figured out what else they could be doing to sort of, really squeeze more value out of the work they're already doing, let alone actually sort of think about it from an SEO mindset. Why is that? Is it the way we bring people up? Is it a generational thing? Are we becoming more and more siloed by the definition of PR? I think there's a whole host of reasons, but yeah, we haven't really seized the opportunity.
What's the size of the industry and what's the size of the opportunity there?
I think, from my perspective, anecdotally, it feels bigger. If you look at the stats, you know, there's lots of numbers bandied around, some of them from the PR-for-SEO, which I never particularly believe. But I mean, if you look at global stats, I was just checking this morning again, they're sort of putting a number from an SEO perspective of around 80 billion globally.
Right.
Now, if you look at the Homes Report stats and also combine that with the PR-for-SEO stats about the value of the PR industry globally, you're looking at about 15 billion. So, you know, both big numbers, but when one dwarfs the other. So when
split between three of us as well, isn't it? That's not bad. We're doing all right.
You're all doing great in the rankings.
So, you know, in a challenging PR environment where there's probably been, I don't remember a time when there's been so many good PR agencies knocking around, and budgets I don't think are particularly buoyant. I don't see why agencies aren't trying to sort of move out and do other things.
I think the point behind this is that there's a whole massive budget line out there that marketers, brand managers, whoever they are, want to spend on the things that Andy was talking about, principally getting on page 1 of Google, getting to position 5 or above, which reminds me of like the worst but sort of corniest SEO joke, which I may as well throw in, which is people in SEO, I've heard more than one of them at more than one conference, say, if you kill someone, bury the body on page 2 of Google, because no one goes there.
That's why no one talks to SEO people.
Exactly. The point is, though, there's a lot of opportunity out there. If we grabbed it, and for all the reasons that Andy and Jim have just said, I believe that PR people are the best placed people to grab it, because Andy said, well, earned media is the gold or whatever for SEO. Well, who does that best? It's the PR industry. Who struggles with doing that? The SEO industry, because it's rooted to creativity and it's rooted to ideas and media relations. So I feel and have felt since I kind of started more in this area that this is a massive gift given to the PR industry that we just haven't unwrapped yet.
So what's how do you make that happen? I mean, obviously you don't want too much competition, but how can the industry start talking about SEO? I mean, do clients really get that they need to align both strategies, do you think?
I think the switched on modern marketeer, especially in-house, really gets it. I think where the PR industry maybe has a bit of a hiccup or a bump is that we would traditionally go and speak to a head of comms or a head of PR. They're not the people who control that budget. It's the head of e-commerce, it's the head of online. They're the people that drive the SEO campaigns forward. So historically, whilst we've all been whoring ourselves on the Ariana and whatever other cruise you go and do to go and meet big brands, we're talking to people that aren't really relevant to to what we're actually doing, which is going to e-commerce people.
So what do you do about that then? I mean, how do you get in front of the people
you
who have
whore yourself
budgets?
at a different event.
Right.
But you go to more digital marketing events where people are a lot more savvy to what you're doing. And also, I think we're all very lucky because we all have a good reputation. Well, the other two do, maybe not me, but everyone else has a good reputation in this industry. If people come to you on the back of that, if you've got a good site to rank and people associate it with your work, then that's going to breed more success.
I think there probably needs to be a bit of myth busting in the industry about SEO and what it is. I find, first of all, people think it's really, really complicated and therefore too much like hard work to kind of get into it and understand it. And the truth is there is parts of it that are complicated, but there's also parts of it that are really easy, relatable, understandable, and people just need to, if people spent a couple of weeks learning about it, they would have a hell of a lot more skills in it than they think they probably do. And the second thing is there's a perception that it must be the kind of nerdy and unexciting end of earned media. So, it must be loads of, I don't know, press office-y stuff the whole time, and in some areas it can be. But the truth is, the best campaigns are campaigns that you probably don't even know are being built for SEO. There's absolutely no reason why. I don't know whether they did or didn't, but we're sitting here the week that EE sent Stormzy down the Thames in a float, which we're not going to argue on the creativity on the whether that's creative or not.
Conversation for another day.
But that can easily be a PR-for-SEO campaign if they've put that thought and effort behind it. There's no reason why that can't work for their SEO.
So how would that work then?
It's just having it's a bit like what Andy said, it's having the right mindset, it's having the right people from the client side in the room, and having the right KPIs and things that you want to evaluate the campaign on from the beginning. And this is the point. It's not that's an SEO campaign, that's a PR campaign. In my view, they are PR campaigns, creative campaigns that you just make work for SEO rather than not make them work, which traditionally tends to be what happens.
I think that the Stormzy campaign is really interesting as well because it shows how PR, social media and SEO all work together. All the sneery PR people, myself included, would have been like, oh, yeah, what are you doing, floating something down the Thames? But it worked. It got them links because it translated into social media with all of, everyone who's sat there having a beer on the Thames is taking pictures and sharing them on social media. All the news sites, so like Reach, for example, or even people like joe.co.uk are constantly monitoring for things starting to emerge on social media. They'll quickly bang a story up so that it will rank, within minutes.
Yeah.
They put a link into the brand that's done it. So, for all the sneeriness around what's been done, and don't get me wrong, I know it's not an example of fantastic creativeness, it really works. And that's the thing, it breeds social success that translates into news outlets that are desperate to get their sites to rank number one for a story, and so that, and that translates into links as well.
Jim, what do you think about the PR for SEO? What have you seen it achieve for clients?
I think Andy's right. I think most of our SEO briefs are coming from a broader client base rather than just head of comms, head of PR. They are definitely heads of performance, heads of e-com, marketing directors who want to see PR delivering both on the brand awareness and on the link building sort of strategy side of things. And I think that's the challenge. Like most PR people on the client side aren't briefing their agencies in that particular way. And I think ultimately that's where we can add the value. And I think David's right. That mindset of both a creative, what you do anyway, but actually have some SEO strategy or thinking or insight or even knowledge in the team is really helpful to take you into other parts of the business or into other client budgets that you wouldn't normally be able to access. I think there are some really good examples of that, but actually some of them are coming from SEO agencies. That you look at the campaign and think, oh, that's PR, but actually it's been delivered by an SEO agency. And I think this is really interesting to start where you start judging an agency and what they're capable of doing based on how traditionally they've been viewed. But actually, at the end of the day, it's good content, it's good creative with a link building potential around it.
So if PR doesn't get a handle on SEO is certainly going to get a handle on content and creative.
Yeah.
By sounds of things.
Well, the funny thing is that is what you think would happen, and if the bad news is that we're sitting here complaining in our dungeon on a rainy day that not enough PR people get SEO, it's kind of the same situation, I think, in reverse in SEO, in that not enough people, not as many people as I would expect in SEO properly get PR. And the bit they need to kind of master, in my opinion, is the earned media bit, is what's going to earn attention, what's, the media relations side of it. But and there's a few agencies that do it really, really well. And we were just talking before and we reeled off 3 or 4 SEO agencies who are really sort of up and coming and doing it well. But there is a danger that more and more more SEO agencies will take our lunch, or whatever the phrase is, but it doesn't actually seem to be moving at the pace that perhaps you might think it is either.
And what if you're a CMO or a head of performance or somebody else who's not a head of comms in a big brand organisation? What are the pitfalls of not getting a handle on SEO and not making the most of it through making sure that it's aligned with earned?
I mean, it's the cheapest form of traffic from a traffic driving perspective to your website. I mean, I do have. It's interesting what you say. I mean, SEO is as broad as PR in some respects because we do everything from crisis to reputation stuff. SEO is the same. They'll do a lot of technical. They'll do on-site. They'll do optimize assets on third-party retail sites. It's just one part of SEO, and it may not be that they're focusing on that, but then that's the opportunity in some way, because that link building piece is really crucial. But I think it's not fair to say that actually they simply don't understand it. It's just that actually it's a part of.
You're right. I'm talking about the organic. I am particularly talking about the organic link building side of it.
Yeah.
That's fair.
That's where it comes in that a really good SEO agency working with a really good PR agency can create a fantastic result for clients. And I think we're in a bit of a battle at the minute where a few SEO agencies are snapping up PR agencies because they fully get it, and similar to Jim's got a few bob and he's buying agencies left, right, and centre. But that's the kind of battle at the minute of whether is it going to be PRs get more of the budget and are able to use those funds to buy SEO agencies. Don't get me wrong, if we could afford to buy an SEO agency, we would, because you could offer the total package there. And whilst I pretend I know what I'm on about, the reality is technical SEO is really hard. It's really, really hard, and and that's not my core skill set.
So is it too hard to build that organically within a PR agency?
No. You can hire good SEO people, but I think you need the same as PR, where you've got some people that are good at writing, some people that are good at outreach, some people are good at whatever, chasing clients for bills. And the same as an SEO agency, you've got people that are good at tech coding, good people that are spotting ways to optimize a site slightly differently. So you need that full skill set to do it properly.
The answer to the question of what are the consequences of not doing good SEO is that you can be putting a lot of energy out there and somebody else can come and rank above you on Google, quite simply, in the most important marketplace or library or whatever you want to call it. And a very good example of that is position 0, which is what they call that bit when you type in a question, how to boil an egg, and there's kind of a much bigger answer at the top of the page of Google.
Yeah.
Position 0 on what's the best cola in the world is not Coke.
What is it?
It is a cola from Mexico called Blue Sky.
I bet you that's got a million dodgy links going into it.
Well, no, it isn't, because as it happens, it is owned by the Coca-Cola company. However, I'm presuming Coke would not want the answer to that question on Google to be Blue Sky, which is a relatively small manufacturer of Coke. And it's done that because it's on a high domain authority site that has got position 0, and they've combined that presumably with quite a kind of on-message PR campaign, a brand-in-hand campaign, and they're the answer to that question. Now, I don't know their marketing budget, but Coke's is bigger.
Yes.
Who are they owned by? Sorry.
They are owned by the Coca-Cola company, but they're a much smaller manufacturer. And I think that's a not bad example of, if you don't pay attention to this bit, you can just get beaten. You can get beaten by a kind of more savvy operator.
Okay. What about positive examples of where that the work you've done has really accelerated a company, a client's presence?
I've got one client that sold the business who started it with nothing and sold it for 55 million.
That's quite
and another one that sold it for 8 million. And another one that sold for around 20 million. So it's not bad all through, they would say using earned media as their main marketing tool. So I have not sold any business for that amount of money, but they're doing really well. So I think that's one of the biggest proof points that this industry and what everyone in the PR industry works in SEO is doing really well. Look at Groupon; they've not done too bad from their SEO campaigns, and there's plenty of brands. You've just won voucher codes, congratulations! They lead the absolute way, and the voucher sector is nasty. I've worked in that for 10 years. It is a nasty sector to work in. There is some dodgy stuff that goes on there, but voucher codes have always remained at the top. They're very ethical in what they do, while some others maybe aren't. And I think that's an amazing win. But they really do lead the way in what they do.
And Jim, what about you? Any good case studies from your experience and where you've actually seen the work that you've done combining PR and SEO benefit a company?
Yeah, I mean, we've done quite a lot of work for Lloyd's Pharmacy in terms of around specific drugs and treatments, which has been pretty successful. I mean, we have dedicated SEO clients as well, so I understand what SEO can deliver. I mean, the interesting thing is, outreach teams do take place within SEO. I think the other interesting thing, for just taking a step back, is that actually there's not that many big SEO agencies, and you kind of wonder why. because none of them are actually really scaled in the same way that PR agencies have scaled or become well known, even though the value of the market is big. And I guess that's where we saw the opportunity. It's like they sort of seem to cap out at sort of 30, 50
Why do you think
people.
that is?
I really don't know, because I mean the biggest one I know is obviously there's one down on the south coast which is well known, and for me that's won lots of awards, but it's never managed to kick on. And I've never really understood why.
So there's no global SEO agencies?
There's not of real any significance, and I think that's where that for me shows it's so fragmented, and there's lots of smaller agencies out there, which is why I went out and acquired one, quite frankly, because it was quicker than actually trying to develop that skill set ourselves internally. But for some reason, there's no considerable SEO agency or no independent agency still knocking around.
But a lot, this comes back to obviously, people looking at the PR industry and think, that it's all shrouded in secrecy and we're all up to weird things and sacrificing goats and doing whatever. But the reality is people think the same of the SEO industry. It is a bit of a dark art. There's no one answer. Google this week have announced an algorithm update.
Oh, yeah.
And, and they notoriously fib about the things that they do. So that's probably a smokescreen. But the SEO industry is probably tough to crack because it changes every few years because there's a big algorithm update. People, same as in our industry, in the PR industry, must lose key people. But I think it's just really difficult to scale SEO because it changes so much. We're probably quite lucky actually. I worked in-house and I kind of fell into online PR, and for a traditional PR person, SEO, a modern traditional PR person, SEO for PR is just a no-brainer. I think, as David said, it's not rocket science what we do. We come up with really funky campaigns, people write about them, and they put links in. Sometimes it's a follow link and we all celebrate. Sometimes it's a no-follow link, we swear at the journalist. Sometimes it's an affiliate link and we give up. But, I think it's just we're quite lucky in the PR industry.
And what was the point you realised that SEO was definitely something you were going to build into your offer?
Well, I saw a client go from, comes back to the 5 or above. I saw a client ranking on an affiliate site, ranking for something, page 1, number 7, and they were doing around £10,000 a day for that term. And then I saw them move up to number 5, and they went up to doing something like £80,000 a day. And I thought, this was early on as well in our agency. So I thought, this is this is something we need to really go for, because I saw it was only 2 weeks after we got a really juicy BBC link in, and their site had gone through the roof. So just very quickly realised actually this is what this is what we need to be doing.
What about you, Jim? What's the lightning bulb moment?
Well, I think it was slightly different for us because we have quite a big paid search business, and SEO and paid search work very closely together, and it fell it occupied a hole in the business quite nicely in terms of giving us a chance to sort of balance those channels, but also start integrating the PR and SEO side. So we felt that actually had the potential to spread out within the business, and what it's done is opened up new revenue streams for us into things like voice search or visual search, because the challenge with Google and the organic listing is that it's becoming less and less real estate because it's becoming more paid, and people are searching on YouTube and through Google Images. And so the interesting thing about SEO, it takes you into new areas which perhaps PR doesn't do so much.
What about you, David?
First of all, let me make it clear that I have never sacrificed a goat in the name of the client.
It's changed.
I'm so glad to hear it.
There was so the lightning bolt, if that's the right word, I can quite clearly say when it was. It was at my previous agency, and we got a call one day from a bookmaker in Canada who, no one will have ever heard of, and that's my way of saying I can't quite remember their name at this point. And they said, we are a Canadian bookmaker. We can't take customers from the United Kingdom. We literally can't take a penny in revenue from the United Kingdom. But we want you to do a campaign that gets us attention and links in UK media and on high domain authority sites. And I'd never heard of this area before. And I was like, what? Explain why. And the answer is because the value of getting good links on high domain authority sites helps boost their business and their SEO terms. And so from that moment, really, that was kind of like, oh, this is really interesting. This is a different way to conduct a PR campaign. It's clearly not something that's about kind of, I'm not making any bones about it, that's not about branding, that's not about messaging, that particular PR campaign, but it was a very pragmatic solution to a business problem that they had. And that was sort of the first thing that really sort of pricked my interest in it.
And there's such a thing, Andy, I know from previous conversations with you on the Twitter, as negative SEO.
Yeah,
that's what that is.
So this is always quite controversial, but it happened to us, so that's how I know about it so well. But after we'd been talking about doing negative SEO for clients, so in a real simple format, people always think it's when your site gets malware injected into it, but it doesn't have to be like that in our situation and for a lot of our clients. Well, I talk about our situation. So we dominated the search engine ranking positions for pretty much every related PR term 3 years ago, and I started foolishly talking about negative SEO, and then someone did it to us. And basically on one day in November, they got 150 dodgy links, put 150 dodgy links into our site from everything from sex trafficking websites, sex websites, stolen credit cards, stolen passport websites, all linking back to our agency website. They were really savvy. They did it on one day, and then 5 days later, they took all the links out again. And that's because Google spots the links within hours and says, oh, crikey, they're up to something. They've been buying links. And automatically our rankings dropped very quickly, pretty much overnight. But they're not so good at going back and checking if those links are still there. Sometimes it takes up to 3-4 months for them to see that the links have gone, by which time it's kind of too late. So immediately that had a huge effect. All our rankings pretty much went, and even to this day we're struggling to get back to where we were. So that that is a real problem in our industry. Now, I don't believe for 1 minute that it was a PR agency that will have done that. It will have been someone related to the SEO community who just thought it'd be quite funny, which it was, but it cost us a lot of money. But ironically now, that sort of 40% of our briefs that are coming in is either helping brands recover from that in terms of spotting opportunities, and we work with people like Kaboo on link analysis and seeing where the problems are, and then building up a clean link portfolio after that. So we work with lots of clients that have just had to go in and do what's called a disavow file, which is basically saying to Google, ignore all of our links that we've got coming in, and they're kind of then having to start again and building a nice, a nice range of authority and sort of mid-tier links.
So it's sort of SEO crisis management, isn't it?
Yeah, but there's no easy fix. I think, as I say, it's been 3 years since it's happened to us, and we still have problems to this day. But if you do go in and spot it quickly, there are ways around it. So there is that, and then there's a traditional PR negative SEO, which is where a brand maybe has a hatchet job in the Daily Mail and it ranks number 1 for their name, and your job is then as a PR is to go in and try and move that negative content lower down Google, which is slightly easier than trying to shift 150 butt plug websites that you've got suddenly coming into your site.
I can imagine. So you can go up quickly and you can go down quickly, depending on whether it's...
I don't know what you're talking about now.
used for good or for ill. I'm just going to pretend you didn't say that. Jim, what about you? Have you had any experience of helping brands recover from those sort of attacks?
Yeah, that sort of reputational management side. Actually, the interesting thing is we've been getting a lot of inquiries from more individuals that are having challenging editorial written about them.
High-profile individuals.
Oh, yeah, a couple. Yeah. And I think that's a whole different area as well that we're sort of looking at. But there's a lot of potential sort of just general hygiene things you can do to tidy up some of this stuff, and actually a lot of assets that you can start creating and placing that Google starts taking notice of to try and push some of that sort of stuff down. So, but it's not a quick fix. And actually it's an ongoing, retained sort of piece of work. And I guess like a lot of crisis PR firms, people are willing to pay for it because, it's something that's, direct criticism of their own personality and brand. So it's potentially quite a lucrative bit of business.
Yeah. David, what's your experience in that?
Yeah, much the same as Jim, actually. Less so on the first half of Andy's answer, more so individuals or organisations have for reputation purposes, but it doesn't feature so much of our business now. I think a lot of the time it's not so much that it's budget that you need from people, but it's patience with a lot of these things, and a lot of the people that come to you when they do occasionally don't necessarily have that patience. As a result, it's not a huge feature of what we do.
So it's not a quick fix, as you say.
No, I think
But SEO isn't a quick
No.
fix.
as David's just kind of said there and alluded to, actually the kind of people that come to you. So we've worked with a couple of politicians on this very similar topic. And in my experience, they're not the kind of people that understand or are willing to understand that this isn't actually we can just do this in 2 days.
Yeah.
This is a best case scenario 3 to 6 month project to get something negative about them. I mean, don't get me wrong, we always start by saying, don't bugger up in the first place. Or, should you, and you have that ethical question, don't you? Should you really be helping? And I think, well, I've got to pay the mortgage actually. So I think you've got to get that over to them that it's not a quick fix. And unfortunately, the kind of people that come to you with those kind of problems are always, in my experience, the ones that maybe don't understand. You can't just go out and buy 100 links tomorrow, which you should never do, to try and mask something or push something down Google. It doesn't work like that.
Can Google tell if you've bought links?
Yes.
Okay.
They famously bust link networks. So there's things called private PBNs. I can't remember what private blog networks, isn't it? Where individuals or companies will build up hundreds of websites. Famously, ASOS accidentally did this. I say accidentally. A few months ago, they got busted for they didn't get busted. They outed themselves for building 200 microsites to support the ASOS main website.
Right.
And that is actually quite dodgy in what they did. So it's called a private blog network. So people control all of these sites and they point links to the main site to try and get that to rank. And Google famously, do a lot of things to try and nail people for it. There's a thing called I'm trying to think the name of the website. There was a famous blogger site that I can't remember where you could go in, you could match a brand to a blogger, and they would write content for you. And then you could ask for a link, and you were paying for all that. It was a really big network. And Google went in, allegedly, and set themselves up as a brand and as a blogger, saw what was going on, and nailed every brand that was on that blogger network.
This is why...
My guest blog, that was it. Sorry.
This is why the skills that the PR industry are so valuable in SEO, because you can't buy links anymore and get away with it, and you shouldn't buy links in any case. And so the SEO industry, the SEO currency is earned links, earned attention, and that's what PR has been doing forever, and that's the bit that the organic side of SEO, from what I have seen, struggles with, and we don't. So we're getting the attention anyway, we're earning the coverage anyway, we're coming up with dynamic ideas. If we marry that to a bit of SEO thinking, it should be there. It's
quite compelling.
Yeah.
And going back to that, the positive impact of good, well thought out SEO that's part of and complementary to a PR strategy. The PR industry is like the ongoing argument about measuring impact, measuring effectiveness, ROI. This feels a bit like if you can link this to business success quite clearly. It feels again like a bit of a no-brainer.
Yeah.
It's easy to track the success of our campaigns. There's no Google Analytics, Google Goals, sales, rankings. From our campaigns, it's really easy.
So what I just don't understand why it's not done more. Is it just fear or lack of understanding? It just doesn't feel like this should be something that's scary to PR.
I don't know.
There's a lot of shrugging
because
of shoulders
because I
going
don't
on
know
here.
if
It is the people. I mean, I sit
Yeah.
alongside SEO people and PR people and digital people, and they tend to be quite different in terms of backgrounds, and I don't know. The PR people are very creative. That's what they get excited about. They get excited about editorial relationships, client management. The digital teams. It's all about the data and seeing a commercial impact and culturally, we seem to have created a breed of people that are less interested in data and insights and measurement. And why is that? Well, I don't know. We all grew up working in different PR departments or agencies, and perhaps we weren't brought up by those people who were. I guess maybe it is a generational thing. I mean, you've started a fairly new agency. You're
But
different
we're older
breed
than
generation.
most PR people, aren't we?
Yeah.
And we're
Come on, you're not ancient.
Exactly. No, but what I'm saying is we're lamenting the sort of lack of people embracing this SEO thing, but we're probably older than most of the people.
It's where we recruit people from. It's the
Yeah.
diversity of people coming into PR. It's very different. It's not
Yeah,
one
they're so
reason.
savvy, aren't they? The people that are coming into it now. I don't know if this is controversial or not, but I think we're so worried at the top level of PR. We're trying to, let's get on the board and prove that we're not a bunch of shysters. As an industry, we want to be on the board. We want to influence the board. We want to prove that we're professional people. We're so worried about that we kind of lose sight of the fact that actually it's quite easy to track what we're doing and prove success. But at the very high level of, the top end of PR, all the lofty people are, trying to prove the value of the industry and, prove our worth and
as a means to try and come up with, rather than complaining about why this is a problem, what the solutions probably are to try and get us to embrace this area. I think so. I'm answering a question that you haven't asked, but I'll go with it anyway. First of all, the kind of stuff that Jim is doing, which is bringing a lot of people cross industry, taking people from other areas, into the PR industry. So data insights people is really going to help. And then the other thing I find is training people from the bottom. So you're right, Andy, what you say. Yeah, people coming into PR have got really good skill set and really enthusiastic. They tend to, in my experience, they tend to be the ones that are embracing this more than the kind of next generation or whatever you want to call it above them. So the people coming into the industry now, if they learn along these lines and kind of learn these skills, then I am hopeful that the industry should more and more embrace this area.
Where do you think this is all going to go 5 years from now in terms of the convergence or not between PR and SEO?
I think universities have to have SEO as part of their PR and marketing degrees, and that currently, as far as I know, happens rarely. I know it happens at our local University of Gloucester, and that they're really ahead of the curve in terms of we've hired 3 or 4 of their grads now, and they're really on it. But they're one of the very few universities that actually include search engine optimization or online marketing or however they want to call it as part of their degree syllabus for PR. And obviously a lot of us, I imagine, hire English grads and they don't have anything to do that. So I think it needs to come in at a slightly lower level.
Yeah, well, that's a much longer term project, isn't it, if you're talking about education?
I think clients will drive it as well. So the more that the clients see the importance in this, which they inevitably will, then they will be instructing their agencies to give them the solutions along these lines. I would say there is an unknown, which Andy alluded to earlier, which is this all depends, a lot of it, on what side of bed Google wake up on every morning and what they decide to do. And you can never properly predict that and how algorithms are going and how they're changing, and there's hundreds of them a year. So there is that unknown about it, but I think Andy's right, kind of education really.
But also, if you are starting out in your career and you're listening to this, or you're a PR or whatever student listening to this, I always say to people, it's the people that go off and learn, and just mess around with things like Google Analytics. You can't break it, you can't balk anything from just playing with it. Just go and get on and go and have a look and understand it. And then if someone came to me and they interviewed against a PR grad and they were, or whatever, but they said, actually, I've got a good understanding of analytics and, I would take them every day of the week. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. What about you, Jim? Where do you see it going?
I agree with David that I think it will be client-driven. I'm seeing more and more pressure on budgets internally, more efficient use of budgets internally. Clients will be asking for a more integrated approach I can't see budgets massively improving over the next sort of 2 years. And I think there will be a natural... I mean, I think just generally, I think we're seeing a transition towards more SEO and PR teams having to work together in the same way you see brand marketing, PR and SEO working together more generally within large organisations. I think, we're seeing PR managers, comms managers working under brand and marketing directors. I think everyone's now being very much sort of, there's much more scrutiny now than ever before on where that budget's going. So the more efficiency you can drive through your budget, the better. And I think that's where the PR and integrated approach sort of fit in.
Okay. And just finally, I'd like your comments on this week's topical SEO issue. Outdoor clothing company North Face and its little play around with Wikipedia. What's your take on that, David?
Idiotic. If I kick off. The thing I don't get is everyone surely knows that you don't mess around with Wikipedia.
Did they swap photos round? Was that the...
They swap photos round on a number of topics so that their photos would be there, would appear on the pages, and they would, they said their words, as an SEO stunt. Because the obvious reason for that is everything you Google, one of the first results up is the Wikipedia page on that particular topic.
Yeah.
But everybody knows you don't mess around with Wikipedia. Don't they?
Yes, I think
everybody
so.
knoes
it's
policed.
It wasn't done by an SEO agency, it wasn't done by a PR agency, it was done by an advertising agency who perhaps didn't know.
Where was it they did it? Was it Brazil did it, or was it at South America?
It was in South America, but it was an ad agency, wasn't it?
Yeah,
a
Leo
US
Burnett.
ad agency was it? Who did it?
Yeah.
It was Leo Burnett, TaylorMade.
Who were very proud of themselves, who said they had manipulated Google for free and got their client attention for free, and then they said they had done it in collaboration with Wikipedia, and Wikipedia very quickly issued a statement saying that they hadn't. What it reminds me of, when there's kind of a really bad example of bad PR.
Are we back to Stormzy on the Thames?
No. I mean an unethical.
Right. Okay. Yes.
Stormzy stunt was lots of things, and I am in the non-snobbiness about floating things down the Thames camp.
I assume they've done that ironically, I have to say. No.
In any case, it wasn't unethical. There was lots of things, but it wasn't unethical. But when there's, I don't know, and I'm not picking out a particular example, but when a PR appears in a case study and they get rumbled and they should...
Yeah.
And as a PR person, you think, I don't want the world to have that perception of PR. That's not what we do.
Yeah.
I feel like this was the SEO industry's moment.
Right.
Like, who are these wallies doing this? This is not what SEO is and what it should be doing.
And I think Google is famous for having a long memory. We're all laughing about it now, and someone at Google will be having a good chuckle, but they'll write that down in pencil. Yeah. And in a year's time, something will happen, and North Face will do something else that's like a real breach of rules, Google rules by accident, and I'll nuke them. That's what they did to Interflora. They said to Interflora... Bad
day, though, to be citing an Interflora example, because they've sold for $55 million today, I think.
So fair play to them. They've recovered from that then. Yeah. But famously, Interflora annoyed Google. Google warned them, and they sort of didn't really take it serious and thought, we're too big to be messed with. And then just before Valentine's Day, they nuked Google. They nuked Interflora out of Google.
Ouchie.
How much will that have cost them? So Google have got a famous long...
Took a long
memory
time to recover from
and that was because of a spat, rumoured to be because of a spat between Marks and Spencer's floral division and Interflora and PPC bidding court case, wasn't it? And Google didn't come out of that very well. There was an opportunity for them to get Interflora back for that, and maybe they did.
Yeah, we used to work for Interflora, and now work for Bloom and Wild. Even culturally, they've never recovered from that actual incident. And then what happened was you got a load of new brands like Bloom and Wild that were mobile first, SEO savvy, and just ate their market share within a number of 2 or 3 years. Took 15-20% of that market away from Interflora. That's a whole other discussion about Interflora, but I'm pleased they sold. So,
although I don't know whether that was good or not.
Well,
it might not be
the
good.
valuation of that business a few years ago would have been a lot higher.
Yeah.
But North Face, I think, it's going to be one to watch. Google don't forget.
Yeah.
There's an algorithm update this week. What's going to happen? That'll be it.
Podcasts apparently now, like more and more, are featuring in search. So if we just say this is a good
this
podcast,
is getting quite meta now.
we should just say this is a great podcast 100 times,
This is
and
the
we
best
might appear
PR
really high on
podcast I've
Google.
ever been
This
on.
is the best PR podcast. It's like we don't even need to
Are
discuss
we
that.
keyword stuff in there? I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's do
maybe.
that. So there we have it. Thank you very much, guys. Thanks, Jim, Andy, and David. SEO is not about the dark art of goat sacrifice. So that's it. Thanks very much for joining me in the Echo Chamber today.
You've been listening to The Echo Chamber. Brought to you by The Holmes Report and produced by Marketeers. Sponsored by the Bullet Group, putting you in tomorrow's conversations today.